They didn't headline cards or hold Portland titles, but they were here. Sometimes for a few weeks, sometimes a few months. Their time at Don Owen's House of Action was brief, but it still meant something. I'm your host, Frank Culbertson, and this is Portland Wrestling Obscurities, forgotten, brief, and barely remembered, where we shine a light on the wrestlers who came through the Portland sports arena just long enough to be remembered, if only barely. And today, we'll look at a Calypso Kid with international flair, a Thunderbolt that didn't quite strike in Portland, and the son of a Japanese wrestling royalty. He entered Portland as a Calypso Kid, but behind the gimmick was Lenny Hurst, a well-traveled technician who brought his British style to the Pacific Northwest in 1975. Hurst's Portland run lasted 10 months, starting with a time-limit draw against Haru Sasaki in February. He picked up a few wins over names like Fritz von Snyder, Jack Ruffin, and Dennis Stamp. But most of his matches were competitive losses or draws. Portland never quite figured out how to use them, but Stampede sure did. Before Portland, Hurst had already built a solid resume. Born in England, he debuted in 1965, wrestled in Mexico for CMLL, and made a name for himself in Stampede Wrestling, where he captured the tag titles 3 times, twice with Dan Crawford and once with Rick Martel. And Rick Martel had this to say: "Yeah, he was a great partner. I was thrilled when they teamed us up. I admired his style. He gave me another dimension to what I could learn. He was a significant influence on me." Well, after Portland, Hurst returned to the UK, wrestling until 1986. His Portland run was modest, but globally, he left his mark. In March of 1971, Thunderbolt Cannon made 2 appearances in the Portland sports arena. The name popped, but the record didn't. He lost both matches, one to Stan Stasiak, the other to Pat O'Brien. Cannon's real name was Harold Canusis, and while Portland was barely a blip on his resume, he was a familiar name in Stampede Wrestling, working there from 1970 to 1975, and again in 1977. But there was something about Thunderbolt. Maybe the look, maybe the charisma, but the in-ring success didn't follow. After retiring, Cannon left the wrestling world behind, working as a custodian in a hotel in British Columbia. Well, his name may be obscure, but Portland, he's part of the territory's long list of one-time performers who flashed briefly and then disappeared. He wasn't just a wrestler. He was a legacy. Mitsuo Momoda arrived in Portland in March of 1975. His stay lasted about 6 weeks, ending in May. He had 7 matches, 5 losses, and 2 draws, and no wins. But let's put that in context, because who he was mattered. Momoda is the son of Riki Dozen, the man credited with bringing professional wrestling to Japan and building it into a national obsession. Mitsuo helped found All Japan Wrestling, and decades later he would help launch Pro Wrestling Noah, not just as a wrestler, but as an executive and decision maker. So why did a future executive of 2 Japanese promotions wrestle and lose in Portland? Likely for seasoning. Don Owen's territory had strong ties to international promotions, and Portland was often used to train and test young foreign talent. But even royalty has to pay dues. Momoda may never have won in Portland, but his contributions to wrestling, as a competitor and a promoter, are undeniable. One was a British technician with global reach. One was a journeyman who couldn't quite catch fire. And one carried the weight of a dynasty. That's Portland wrestling. Sometimes you're a champion, sometimes a footnote, but you're always part of the story. Hey, this show is inspired by the best-selling book, The Encyclopedia of Portland Wrestlers, by historian Mike Rogers, available now on Amazon. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Friday, so subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're getting your wrestling history fix. And turn on those notifications so you'll never miss a single suplex of obscurity.